Jeff, good morning to you. Thank you very much for being here. Let's talk about how important USMCA is to the economy of the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and what it means for those negotiations with China going forward.
Well, fundamentally, when you look at the two agreements, they're very different in their scope and their nature. The USMCA is an update of an agreement that's been in place for 25 years already. It's an agreement between allies, all of which are market economies. In the case of the US-China negotiation, things are quite different. The US and China are talking about fundamentally restructuring their trading relationship as it has evolved over the last 2 or 3 decades. They are not allies, and China is not a market economy. And the fact that China promised to become a market economy when it entered the WTO and has not done so is the fundamental reason why we are in this trade dispute to begin with. So the key issues in the trade dispute, things like subsidies, forced technology transfer, other state-led policies that fundamentally disadvantage foreign companies, those factors are not at play in USMCA. So that's why I think that USMCA will be passed, and we will be hearing a lot about that from President Trump during the presidential campaign season. And we probably will get a Phase 1 agreement in the coming weeks, or maybe even sooner than that, but that we won't get a Phase 2 deal because the issues are so tough.
I mean, given the adversarial relationship that China and the U.S. have, not just on trade, but many other fronts as well, is there an expectation, just big picture long term, that these two countries, us in America and China, can actually come to some kind of a mutually beneficial, large arching kind of trade agreement that sets us up for the next, say, 10, 20, 30 years?
I think that the past few months tell us that on narrow issues where the interests are fundamentally aligned, in this case we have, say, agriculture and reducing some tariffs, we can reach agreement. But China has resolutely resisted any kind of fundamental restructuring of the arrangement. For example, subsidies. While we've been talking about these issues during the trade war, China has been doubling down and has been creating new giant investment funds to subsidize sectors like semiconductors and other areas of priority for them. So I'm not that optimistic that we can reach that kind of long-term overarching agreement in the near term.
So let's talk a little bit about how you mentioned the president and you mentioned the narrative that will have to be kind of told to the voting, to the electorate, to the public in 2020. What exactly can the trade deals that are in progress and have been done, USMCA and the China perhaps Phase 1 deal, what stories need to be emphasized from the administration, and what does the administration still need to work on with regard to getting some kind of a bigger deal done?
Well, with regard to MCA, I think the president's going to talk about the benefits to workers, greater auto content, for example, in the United States. And there are various advantages to USMCA that were included in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which President Trump pulled us out from. For example, intellectual property was part of USMCA, of the TPP. And so that's part of the narrative. I think in terms of the China negotiations, we are going to reach a Phase 1 agreement on tariffs and agriculture, and that's what we're going to be hearing about. The president is going to be going to farm states and talking about the sales that are going to be forthcoming beyond that. But the deeper structural issues, I think, will not get addressed, and I think the president is going to try to find a way to avoid discussing those issues because with regard to those issues, I don't think that he's going to be able to resolve them anytime soon.